to a party on Sunday, which is very rare for me. But I went to an event courtesy of E1 and Labyrinth. Obviously, you guys know I've been to a few Labyrinth events over the last couple of years. It felt like, because they do a lot of stuff with DJs that I'm big fans of, like Dixon, like like Jimmy Jules, like Tricks and stuff over the years. And then of course I went to the day festivals that they do also, that have been pretty interesting in terms of a spectacle and in terms of something to go to. The whole day festival thing is something that usually I don't think works that well here in the UK, but they've done a really good job in terms of getting that to work, especially at the scale that they do it at, especially with the people who they're booking and whatnot, etc., etc. Anyway, they had another event on Sundays. I don't usually go out on Sundays. I miss quite a lot of Sunday raves, like the Unfold at Fold, like a few happened at Starlane Pizza, which is around the corner from Fold. There's a few other events that happen on Sunday that are pretty decent, but I tend to avoid them because I like to start my week like on a Monday with a clean sort of bill of health, go with the green juice, go work out and stuff, have a good fast. I don't like to kind of roll over the party season from the Monday, so the party kind of vibes from the Sunday into a Monday. So I try to avoid going out on the Sunday as much as possible, but obviously I go crazy on a Friday and a Saturday. But anyway, this weekend was a change because it was bank holiday weekend, so I thought, why not, let's just let our head down and go a bit crazy. And this event also was kind of around the corner or near where I live, so not too far, especially on the bus or on an Uber or cycling. I've been like that many times, so it kind of gave me a real excuse to go. And over the last couple of years, I've kind of fell in love with E1 in the same way that I kind of fell in love with Fabric. I was a real big critic of Fabric, a real big critic of E1, mostly because of their security. And I think in recent years, they've probably done a little bit of an upheaval and changed the people who do security at E1 and at Fabric. And that's really made a big change to how I perceive the clubs. Fair enough, the booking people have probably changed too, or their booking strategy or vision of what they're doing. For sure, you can tell for Fabric, they have a lot more eclectic events. They cover a wide ranging, genres and DJs and stuff. It's not just the same old kind of old white guys that they usually booked in the past. And the same can be said for E1. They have a real broad range, everything from sex positive parties, like kink parties, all the way to like traditional house stuff, all the way to like weirdo shit, all the way to like scene stuff like from Possession and whatnot. They cover a real good breadth of it, so I do like to go to those type of places. And also for me personally, I think the sound system at E1 is always really good. I love that massive speaker wall they got that's absolutely blaring out the tunes and sometimes can absolutely wreck your ears. I love the two different rooms that they have very different vibes. The main room is a bit more spacious and easy to kind of find a corner to chill in, and the second room is usually a little bit more grungy, a little bit more straight to your face, a little bit more just a little bit more intense in terms of the lights and how they put the smoke in there and how high up the DJ is. So I do like the overall feel of it. So it was kind of a win-win when it comes to that event. And of course the DJ's playing in terms of Arm, who's also a part of Innovisions, in terms of Henrik Schwartz, who I haven't seen live in a very long time, and Jimmy Jules, of course, who I'm a big fan of also. So Sunday rolls around. So Sunday rolls around for the event for me to go to. Me and a friend obviously ended up going there, and the first thing that I ended up doing, that is something that I don't really do that often when I go out, is that I decided not to have any alcohol. Well, not to have any alcohol there. I had a couple of drinks before I left. I had like a little couple of tonic wine things that I usually get, the Magnum stuff, the typical stuff that black boys drink before they go out. But I decided this time around to try to do a raving experience with no alcohol and just sticking to the class A substances. And for the most part, it went pretty well. And to the point where now I'm thinking that this might be my general way of kind of doing my nights out, because I felt way more refreshed in the morning. I didn't have a crazy hangover. My partying didn't spill into the Tuesday. It just when I got home, I was just basically tired because I essentially stayed until 7 a.m. anyway, or right until the end, maybe about 6:30. I think maybe the lights officially came on. But in general, I felt way more fresh the next day than I would have done if I would have done the combination of the Class A and the alcohol. And it led me to believe that maybe alcohol, as crazy as this sounds, maybe alcohol is more destructive than Class A on a day-to-day basis, because I would imagine most people probably can't afford to buy many drugs on a daily basis, especially if you're doing some of the better stuff. And maybe alcohol, because it's so cheap and readily available, is easily abused, etc., etc. But I had a really great time honestly. For the most part, we just went and did like little runs to go get bottles of water and stuff, which were quite expensive. Don't get me wrong, for a nightclub, right? $2.50 for a bottle of water is crazy, but still, you got a nice chilled bottle of water that you could easily kind of pop open and close the lid if you need be. And just a generally a cool and chill vibe. I was able to party, listen to everything, remember my surroundings, and just not be sloppy or be messy when I was kind of partying. So I definitely would advocate or encourage people, if you're like me and you do enjoy to go out a lot, especially on the weekends, try to have a couple of weekends where you maybe go out and don't drink as much, or you don't drink at all, and see how that goes. Because I really do think that it's a real big indicator to why you're out there in the first place, and really will reveal your intentions. And I feel like for me, for the longest time when I was going out, I had some troubles that I was kind of dealing with personally, and I would maybe treat going out as an escape from my everyday life, right? I didn't really like the position I was in, my life and my career goal, whatever. Something was happening at the time, right? And I like to kind of go out and just completely get blacked out, to the point where when I come back, so to the point where I'd forget my everyday life, but of course the next day it was still there. So it's kind of a weird and bad way to kind of go about those sort of things. But then over time, once I started to get more involved in the scene, I started DJing, started promoting, I started doing the whole techno tourism stuff, I started to realize, no, I actually enjoy nightlife. I actually enjoy going to these different places, seeing how these different scenes do things, interacting with different people, and just kind of absorbing myself in that surrounding. I've always been someone that kind of wanted to always see and feel stuff for myself. I never just went to read about an account of an event or of a club in a magazine, just be happy with that. I went to go and touch and feel it myself, and obviously I've been given the privilege and the luxury to go and do so, through my job and through what I've been able to do over the years, blah 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 blah. So that was really good, and I really did enjoy that. So that's definitely something that I would encourage many more people to go and do. And then once we rocked up to the event, as per usual, the organization when it comes to getting into E1 is always kind of A1, very easy to get into. They've got the barricade set up around the club, you queue up. The first security guard you kind of get in touch with wants you to see their ID, and I'm guessing that's just to kind of root out anyone that's going to be waiting around for ages, get to the front, and then they say you need to have ID physical, and then you haven't got it, you have to go home again. So not to waste your time, they just quickly screen you, make sure you got your ID, then you get to the queue, and then somebody this time around, which was pretty good, was coming down the queue and just scanning everyone's QR code of their ticket, so that when you then went through to the security stuff, you could just quickly go in, get your stamp, and kind of go into the club. So that was perfect. And of course the cloakroom is really easy to use too. One of the rare cloakrooms in clubland, especially here in London, that also accepts contactless pay or cards. So if you don't have cash, you can still be able to put your bags and whatnot into the cloakroom. And I would advise to do so unless you're willing and able to put your bag under a speaker or tie around your waist, because E1 gets really hot and sweaty. The entire club is like really sticky, and there's a real lack of air conditioning in that entire place. So I would recommend, if you do go to E1, do put your bags and coats into the cloakroom. Go into the main room, and of course we spent most of our time listening to Henrik Schwartz and Arm playing a 5-hour set. And from what I can see, how they did the kind of layout was really different in the Labyrinth, because usually when I've been to E1, it's usually one big, like the main room is kind of one big square. On the right hand side is that big speaker wall, and then towards the far end is where the DJ booth is, right? It's kind of a standard sort of layout. But this time around, Labyrinth, I guess in order maybe to boost the ticket sales or just to kind of offer a different experience to the punters, they had a VIP package, and they also had a table service sort of package. Table service. So what they did is that on the edges, they kind of did these like barricades where they had these different sections where people could basically have their drinks kind of put on tables and whatnot, in big little, in those massive things you see in Soho clubs, those massive containers for the people's drinks and ice and whatnot. And then they had some staff who were kind of walking around there who were able to kind of serve people and whatnot whenever they kind of had their drinks. So that was a pretty interesting setup, which was a bit weird to kind of get our head around, because it kind of made the club way smaller and sort of packed everybody into the middle like sardines. But overall, I think the vibe was pretty decent for the most part, because it seemed like everybody that was in those kind of VIP sections was also dancing and having a good time too. There wasn't a lot of posers or people trying to look pretty. Everyone was really turning up, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the general the general punters, the ones that just bought regular tickets like I did, were so hyped and ready to have a good dance. Like that crowd on Sunday, as sketchy as it was, because there was some weirdos in there, to be honest, but I did find it to be one of the better kind of club crowds that I've seen from Labyrinth. And I don't know if it's to do with the people that were playing, whether it's to do with the date of the event being on Sunday, whether it's due to the location, but it was a generally pretty decent crowd. And I think that kind of added to the entire ambience of the event that we was in. So we bumped into a few friendly faces, a few cool people, had some cool random conversations, and generally it was a really, really good night. And I think in terms of playing, it was so nice and cool to see Henrik Schwartz play. I haven't seen him play in such a long time. I remember there was a period, I think early in my sort of like going out sort of like timeline, where I seem to kind of see Henrik Schwartz out a lot more often. I'm not too sure if he kind of took a break, if he maybe didn't tour as much here in the UK, but I haven't really seen him on bills or on lineups a lot. So to get Henrik Schwartz to play out here in London again was pretty cool to see. And then of course Arm played an extended 5-hour set, which you don't regularly see. We don't really usually see him play that often when he does come here, and I think that really suited his style. And I think there was some conversation to be had around whether or not some people believe that Arm might be a better DJ than Dixon, which is crazy to think, because the whole reason why this is crazy to think, because there was a point in time where Dixon was voted, I'm sure, I don't remember exactly, but I think it might be 4 times he was voted Resident Advisor's top DJ, 4 times in a row, back to back, right? And I think that was maybe the main reason why he kind of propelled his stardom. He went from being a relatively well-known kind of house DJ on the local scene in terms of Berlin, and then as soon as he kind of kept getting voted, top DJ on RA, suddenly his stock went super high. And obviously, Dixon's known for his flawless mixing, his great sequencing, and just really being a really astute DJ, and kind of in terms of how he kind of delivers sets and whatnot, and the build up and everything, tension, all that stuff is really good when he puts these sets. But if it has felt like, even for me being a big Dixon fanboy, somebody that's listened to all these interviews and reads all these interviews and watches all these interviews and checks out all these releases, and is in the comments talking about what shirt he's wearing and on forums and whatnot, it is quite interesting to see that over the years, maybe the fact that he's been such a high profile DJ now for such a long time, and he's clearly trying to take his profile to the next level, which obviously allows him to do more interesting things with his label Innovisions and whatnot, it does feel like maybe the DJing has taken a bit of a it's taking a bit of a back seat in terms of maybe he's taking his foot off the pedal in terms of delivering really high octane level kind of sets. I think the last time I saw Dixon play a really stellar set was when he played there was an Innovision label showcase that they did a few years ago in Fold. That legitimately might have been one of the best parties I've ever been to over there, right? That was the first time I kind of got exposed to Jimmy Jules playing live, and Dixon played, an incredible set. You could tell he was really feeling it. You kind of felt the vibe with Fold being such a smallish type venue with all the people that fill it. It was probably one of the fullest I've ever seen it too for that kind of level of event. But then since then, it kind of felt like to me that maybe he's, I wouldn't say phoning in the sets, but it's not as high of a level as it was in the past. But then on the other end of things, when it comes to Arm, I feel like he has also kind of lifted the level up to a weird level too, where he's really good, where sometimes you see some clips of him playing courtesy of Instagram accounts like Arm to Dixon, and you think to yourself, is Arm actually better than Dixon these days? He's really bringing it. And I think this set in E1 maybe solidified it to the point where maybe I think like if Arm isn't better than Dixon, he's definitely on the same level. They're not as kind of the levels aren't as far off as they were maybe in the past, which is obviously a good thing. I think overall as a label, right, you'd still want, I think if you're Dixon, you probably still want people like Trix and Jimmy Jules to surpass you in some way, because it makes the label stronger if they have all these killers on there. You don't just want one person bringing all the food in, right? Because there was a point in time where Dixon was the only one really getting all the bookings. But now over time, with all the releases and the fact that they've got all this increased profile on Instagram accounts, like I mentioned before, blah blah blah, people are now booking them individually. They're not just booking them to be like, oh, we want you to play back to back or whatnot. They're booking them like, oh, we want Trix, we want Jimmy, we want this, we want that. So that obviously helps the label. But overall, I loved what they did with the space. I loved again, like I said, the VIP booths didn't really disturb the overall flow of the event. I feel like the VIP package that they did offer to people was pretty substantial and did really give you another kind of experience of the night. I managed to get a VIP wristband off of some random person, so I was able to slip in and kind of see what the experience was like. And the VIP wristband allowed you to basically go around the back of the DJ where the booth was, which was a pretty sick place to be, to kind of check out the DJ up and close in that kind of way. And obviously you got the ability to go to the VIP little sections where they had the tables and stuff, which was really cool too, because they had loads of ice in there, and for some reason people just left their tables and left their drinks unattended, so I was able to grab some ice and kind of keep myself hydrated and whatnot. So that was pretty nice. And because I wasn't on the alcohol, I kind of left that to one one side, but that was pretty cool to see. So the VIP package, although it was a little bit overpriced in terms of being 50 to 60 pound, I think 50 I would have definitely have jumped on it if I was there, but 60, 70 is probably not, you know, it's probably a little bit more expensive than I would like to spend. But if you're going to go out and not drink, maybe you could maybe afford to do such a thing. But overall, I thought the event was really well put together and everything, and I really did have a great time. And here's a quick video compilation I put together featuring Henrik Schwartz and Arm playing. I'm going to play a bit of it and skip around. Hopefully you can hear the vibe and feel the atmosphere. And of course, last thing to add to, I liked whatever they had these things. If you can see the video, there's these weird kind of projection screen things going on around the back and the top of the venue. I'm not sure if they were LCD screens or if they were projections from a projector, but whatever they were, they really did add to the event. So again, it feels like every event they're basically improving the production quality, tweaking little things here and there, Labyrinth, and kind of, you know, just trying to provide a somewhat bespoke events in venues that everyone's kind of familiar with, because I'm sure people have been there, have all been to E1 in one, you know, on one occasion or not. So it's nice to have them have that kind of ability to do such a thing. And also, last thing, they had this room at the front of the venue. I'm not sure if that was a chill out room, but there was a DJ playing in this. That was pretty cool to see too. So it was a room that if you went just to kind of somewhat unwind, you could also go and occupy. So they kind of did a really good job in putting that all together. But like I said before, I'm a big fan of E1 anyway as a club, so it was always going to win that way. But let me play the clip so you can hear and feel what the vibe was about. This is Henrik Schwartz. Oh, and also what a big difference it makes when the crowd is dancing and having a good time. That's what it felt like. It was so refreshing to see that. And again, there wasn't any stipulation about people, you know, putting stickers on phones and no pictures and stuff. For some reason, people were just ready to have a good time. Maybe it was because of the bank holiday vibes, who knows, but really, really, really decent crowd, man. And I think, unfortunately, for club nights in London, it feels like the crowd really dictates whether or not you have a good time or not. So, you know, it doesn't matter what the promoter does, what the venue does, what the DJ does. Sometimes if there's a shitty crowd, it just will ruin your night. So that can be a little bit disappointing, because it's completely out of control and completely out of control of the people that are putting on the event. But this time around, it really did work. The crowd did a really good job to add to everything. So big up everybody that came with the good vibes. This is Arm playing. More Henrik Schwartz. Let me fast forward to a bit more Arm so you can hear a bit of that. Whatever this tune was, this might have been my favorite tune the whole night. It was towards the end. The bass on this was incredible to feel and witness in IRL, honestly. And this is towards the end when they're wrapping things up. They turned on the lights for the last 20 minutes or so, which is a bit weird and kind of put you out of the flipping zone, because you're basically aware the lights were on and stuff and tripping your balls out and your IP balls dilated and whatnot, and everyone had the girly face, high face in the morning. But it was quite nice. It was quite a nice little refresher. I mean, before you headed out, so you wasn't completely blinded by the daylight as you walked out. But yeah, that was it for the most part. And then the only other thing is a slight kind of, L on our part. I did try to get a picture with at the end, like a big fat groupie that I am. And of course that wasn't possible because I guess he had to rush off, or he wasn't really in the mood to take pictures or whatnot. I don't know what the deal was, but that was a little bit cringe, a little bit embarrassing. But hey, I think, being a fan, I think for the most part, is a good thing. And also being an unapologetic fan that's also, interested in meeting these people in real life is actually nice. I feel like despite sometimes how they might react or how they might come off in terms of being rude or maybe not exactly giving you a response you want, I think it's also always nice to kind of let people know who you're a fan of, that you're a fan of them. Do you know what I mean? It's always nice for them to see that you're a real fan and you actually kind of pay attention and follow them for real, and you're not just here for the hype and bloody blah blah blah. But unfortunately we weren't able to get a picture with but hopefully next time we see him, maybe we will get a picture. Maybe we will.